Good evening, folks. And tonight we're going to talk about the new top 10, top 25 rankings and who they play and what you think of them and how they are. This is the first part. We're going to start with who they are and if you think they're overrated, where they're at, or what you think. First, we're going to start it all out. Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Texas. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 4, Alabama. Number 5, Ole Miss. Number 6, Missouri. Number 7, Tennessee. Number 8, Penn State. Number 9, Oregon. Number 10, Miami. Number 11, USC. Number 12, Utah. Number 13, Oklahoma State. Number 14, Kansas State. Number 16, LSU. Number 17, Michigan. Number 18, Notre Dame. Number 19, Louisville. Number 20, Arizona. Number 21, Iowa State. Number 22, Clemson. Number 23, Nebraska. Number 24, Boston College. And number 25, Northern Illinois. Okay, so we got this team straightened out here. Now the teams who they take on, about where they're at. We're going to talk about each of team's opponent, about who they play on. Georgia will take on Kentucky. Teams that have a bye are as follows. Ohio State has a bye, and they'll take on Marshall. And so does USC, and their next opponent is Michigan. While Utah State will travel to Utah State. Let's see here. And Friday, Kansas State will take on Arizona, so number 14 will take on number 20, so it's not like we got to repeat those, so he was on the 13th. And Northern Illinois will have a bye and take on Buffalo the following week. And so will Clemson, also has a bye. They take on North Carolina State. And so does Iowa State. And they will take on Arkansas State after Michigan takes on Arkansas State. So it's going to be quite entertaining when these teams take each other on. Penn State also has a bye week, and their opponent will be Kent State. Speaking of which, number 7, Tennessee, they take on Kent State, which is going to be happening then at 7:45. Interesting how that works. I mean, supposedly, the MAC, let's talk about all these leagues here. You got SEC teams mixed with Big 12 and Big 10. And literally, the Pac-12 is pretty much gone. They're pretty much dead. The MAC has pretty much never been relevant. I can't remember the last time a MAC team has even been in the top 25. Literally. But they won't even get any further than that. But, I mean, the only reason why they even got into the top 25 in the first place is because they upset Notre Dame, which technically nobody ever saw that coming. And Notre Dame pretty much will prove to the world how overrated they actually were, which comes to my next point. Notre Dame fell 13 spots from where they once were to 18th. Michigan fell 7. Iowa came up 8. Nebraska came up 7. Those are teams you don't want to sleep on. Nebraska and Missouri is another team you don't want to sleep on. Never sleep on those teams because it appears like they have come out of nowhere. Now, Oregon, on the other hand, they've literally played the same gear from start all the way to finish, and somehow have not lost. I don't know what team it'll take to beat them. If it's Ohio State, great. If they literally win every game from here on out, but lose to Ohio State, then great. But literally, I don't know what it's going to take for Oregon to lose to realize that we're not going to win every game here. Oregon is not the Oregon is just too overrated to be where they're at. They can't play and win these games like they own it. Oregon, just not a Big Ten team. Now, Ohio State, if they play like they really want to win it, great. Now, if they get back to a little normalcy like Penn State, then that's one thing. Now, Penn State, now the top 12, which is currently Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, Penn State, Oregon, Miami, USC, and Utah. Those 12 teams is what's literally only in the hanging right now. The others, gone. They don't have a chance to get back into the tournament. But seriously, the ones on the outside looking in, don't sleep on Kansas State. They're one team that you probably should not be sleeping on. Oklahoma State, another team you probably shouldn't be sleeping on. Now, Michigan, on the other hand, they might have been playing sluggish a lot lately, but their next opponent after they play Arkansas State is USC. And their only chance of getting back into this whole entire tournament is if they beat Ohio State, is if they beat everyone that's left on the schedule. That means they got to beat Ohio State, they got to beat USC, and they got to beat all the ranked opponents on here. Ohio State, USC, and Oregon. They got to beat all three of those teams. Their only luck right now is, the only thing they got on their side right now is Oregon at home and USC at home. That's the only thing on their side right now. They got to travel to Ohio State and try to beat Ohio State at home again, which literally doesn't look very promising. Because the way they're playing right now is like they really don't want to win. But I'm not saying it's the end of the world for Michigan, by all means. They still have an outside chance to get in. You can beat two of those teams. You can beat two of the three teams. Rather it's Oregon or rather it is USC. If you beat two of those teams, you still have an outside chance to get in. But if you lose to Ohio State, then maybe not. I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm just throwing that out there. But even if you do somehow beat Ohio State this year, you will still probably get in there. Somehow you will probably get in. But I just don't see how it is possible that you could possibly get in if you do not beat USC, if you do not beat two out of the three ranked teams that are still ranked there in the Big Ten. I mean, I don't see them playing Nebraska this year, so since they don't have Nebraska on the schedule, that's a totally different ballgame. So, but Ohio State plays Nebraska, so that's one that's going to benefit them at home. So Nebraska's going to be a good team. Nebraska's never a team you sleep on. And they literally almost did that with Michigan. And Michigan literally did that with Nebraska one, I think it was either last year or the year before. And they almost got beat by Nebraska. Nebraska's a whole new team. Clemson, on the other hand, they're done. I mean, you can literally try to say there's still a little hope for them. But on the flip side, I don't see them really getting anywhere anytime soon. Because it's just where it is. Then you got Oregon, who's at number 9, who's played literally Boise State. At any point you can actually throw a ball, they've put up so many good numbers on their opponents. But somehow, and I say again, somehow, they don't manage to make any positive gains on anybody. They don't blow the water. They don't blow the teams out of the water like they were supposed to. They were favored by 44 points against Idaho, and they only won by 10. They were favored by 10 points against Boise State and only won by 3. The margin of error is not there for Oregon. The defense sucks. Their defense is worse than Ohio State the past several years. I mean, I can only imagine what it'll be like when Ohio State visits Oregon. Either Ohio State's going to light them up and torch them when Ohio State starts at a fast pace like they once were when I was younger. I mean, I remember when I was a lot younger and I watched Ohio State. They torched their opponents at fast paces. And that's literally what they would do in a heartbeat. They got a former Oregon head coach who always was fast-paced at everything. And that's literally what he does. He's fast-paced at everything. And if we do a fast pace like we see here, Oregon is done. And Oregon likes to slow things down, but if Ohio State can torch Oregon with the fast pace, I just don't see Oregon winning. I don't see Oregon winning against Ohio State. Maybe Ohio State's the answer for Oregon. I don't know. I could be wrong, though. Maybe I'm tripping. I don't know, but I seriously think there's something to be talked about with that one. Now, when it comes to Alabama, I'm not saying they're overrated, but they still got some good teams. They got Wisconsin. They're going to Camp Randall Stadium. That's a very hard place to win at. So, I'm not being skeptimistic, but I'm putting them on upset alert. Because anytime you go to Camp Randall, it is always hard to win there. It doesn't matter if you're a big man or a little man. You never know when you're going to win or lose there. Ohio State's gone there I don't know how many times. They've been upset there. Same with Michigan. Same with literally almost, I don't know how many teams have gone there and been upset by Wisconsin, but that's the place that you get upset a lot at. I can't remember any other place that's you get more upset at other than Camp Randall. There's probably more times you've been upset at Camp Randall than anywhere else I can count of. So, if you want to count to be a potential upset, I put Alabama at upset alert. So, but Notre Dame, but back to Notre Dame here. Notre Dame is more of the team that is probably was like 2007 upset of number 5 Michigan when they lost to Appalachian State 34-32. They went to pretty much a very big mimic of that. Except Northern Illinois pretty much kept it a low-scoring game, not like Appalachian State, who allowed points constantly on the board, and they would answer just like they did. And eventually, at the very end, I can't remember how far the field goal was. I think it was like a 47-yard field goal attempt by Michigan, and they ended up blocking the field goal or something like that, and they returned it so many yards and they ended up tackling him by like the 5-yard line or something like that, and that's where it ended. There's like only like 5 seconds left on the clock when he kicked it. So, but that tells you everything you need to know. I mean, these guys literally knew how to do the game. But Appalachian State, on the other hand, pretty much pulled off the biggest upset during that time frame, while Northern Illinois literally pretty much did the exact same thing. They blocked it at the very end of the game, ending any hopes for Notre Dame to go any further. While Texas, on the other hand, pretty much made Michigan look small, 31-12. They literally made Michigan look like they didn't even deserve to be in the top 10, which makes Michigan look overrated. And they totally looked overrated out there. They didn't even look like a top 10 team to begin with when they were taking on Texas. I mean, when Texas came down and missed the field goal, Michigan had a chance to march down the field and score a touchdown and take the lead. And then they'd be on the outside looking in. And I literally said to myself, okay, Michigan might be doing it. this might be a good challenge. But then I saw Texas turn around and stop them, and I saw Texas score a touchdown. And I'm like, wait a minute. Did that really just happen? It actually did. It actually freaking happened. And then another touchdown occurred by Texas. And I'm like, oh my God.